feel like we just start.
Now we're here. Feels a bit weird.
Yeah, it does feel weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, why is that?
I think because we're so used to having like normal conversations
Here
here.
on our sofa.
Yeah. And now like we've got 3 cameras pointing at us and
I
and a
know.
ring light.
I know.
We've gone hard. Oh, if you're
Sorry.
going to do that next time.
Sorry, guys. I'm new to this world, okay? You okay, Rams? So, I guess, hi, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. We have wanted to start a podcast for quite a while.
Yeah, a long time.
And I feel like, Remy, we're recording a podcast, hun. Remy is our 3-month-old baby, not a baby human. And he's
Currently fussing.
He's fussing. He's supposed to be asleep.
I think we definitely like wanted to start a podcast around the time just after Jax was born, or we had like ideas that we would, and then we just didn't realise how difficult that was going to be. And we're not going to go into the details of why it's tough with Jax in particular, but it's it's something that like we've tried to figure out the logistics of and have an evening to ourselves to be able to do it.
All the luxuries.
Yeah, but we're trying to we're just going to go for it, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we probably were thinking too hard about what will we talk about.
Yeah. Who gives a
yeah, but we're here and we're doing it now, and I think it's perfect because it's running alongside our new business that we're gonna be starting, that we're currently in the position. We're currently in the process, of changing career, relearning, broadening our horizons.
Yeah, I think yes, I think it's probably good that we kind of say what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. So you're training to become a PT.
I am.
And I'm also doing the super original thing of trying to become a nutritionist. So
that's pretty original.
Yeah, I suppose. I think like we're joining a heavily saturated market, but we want to sort of corner our position with trying to help busy parents and parents to be.
Yeah.
Having been both of those things.
We have and are. And obviously people that have followed us for quite a while will be totally aware that we had IVF to have Jax. And that in itself was quite the journey, and leading up to that was quite the journey. So we wanted to be able to support people on that journey because we realise it isn't a straightforward one. And obviously it looks different for everyone, but we want to share our experience and kind of just kind of guide people along really, and just be a support system for people, because it's not something that's broadly talked about. I feel like we've found a little pocket of people now online that, you know, I feel like are in the community, I guess, and it feels like, oh, there's loads of people then. But it's just because I've found these people. But in everyday life, before we had IVF, we didn't know anybody that had IVF, or we didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anything really, did we?
No, I think your algorithm has really like figured it out for you now. Like when it comes to those kind of things. I think it's something where you become parents after going through infertility, and it's almost like you're not that you're not allowed to talk about it. There's people that go through, say, IVF in particular, that will never share that they've gone through it anyway. And again, that's personal choice. It just feels like you're part of the community, and then it feels weird because you've got the thing that everybody wants.
Yeah.
That's still trying.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really important for us to try and like really sympathize with that situation, because we remember it's still fresh in our minds, like what it was like to be there. I think that will never leave us.
No, of course not. It's like ingrained in your being, and it's how we got Jax, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, you know, that's always going to be a reminder for us. But yeah, I still get asked about it on my Instagram quite often, and yeah, we're setting this business up, and that's what we're going to talk about mostly on this podcast, about all that sort of stuff, really, because our journey was an interesting one. I learned stuff about myself in that process. So whether you're on a fertility journey or not, to have IVF on the NHS, you have to be under a certain BMI, and prior to being put forward for fertility treatment, you have to obviously go to your GP and kind of say, I've been trying to conceive for X amount of time, it isn't happening for whatever reason, and they will send you for tests. Basically, they're just generic first kind of protocol tests, really, aren't they? And we did those, and from those tests I learned that I had got PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And again, that was something I'd not really heard of too many times prior to me being diagnosed with it.
I had no idea, like, the ramifications that would have. And then, like, also, like, how common it is, and probably how many people are out there undiagnosed with it.
And struggling because of it.
Yeah.
In various reasons and respects. You know, it affects quite a lot of aspects of your life that you wouldn't probably necessarily even realise. And I think it's a syndrome, which basically means it's not the same for everybody. And it's a spectrum of symptoms and various other bits. But yeah, I got diagnosed with PCOS, which had kind of made me go, oh, okay, that's why I struggle with weight loss. This is why it's difficult for me compared to most of the other people in the world. Or like, you know, people that I was comparing myself to whilst growing up and stuff. This is why I've got hairs on my chin. This is why I've got these various other things, you know, going on. So we had the PCOS diagnosis, which I've had to learn to kind of navigate and manage through diet and lifestyle changes. And I tried various medications and stuff for it too, but for me personally, with my personal diagnosis, I didn't find any of those were overly beneficial for myself. I found the diet and lifestyle changes more beneficial. And then what else? That was the main reason we got sent to the gynecology, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was like the next step.
Because of the PCOS, and the PCOS then made me not ovulate, and that can be a common symptom or common side effect of PCOS. So that was another reason I was sent over to the hospital, because they were, at the time it was like, oh, maybe we'll be able to just take this ovulation inducing drug, and that would be like a quick fix almost, even though if you go through ovulation drugs and cycles of that, that's not a nice thing to go through, and it's not easy. But I thought that would be like, okay, that's, you know, I suppose one step down than IVF, I guess. And at the time I didn't really know a lot about like IUI and various other things like that. Are you okay? So yeah, they did further testing at the hospital, and for us, we throughout those tests, I found out that my fallopian tubes were blocked. That fallopian tube test, HSG test, sorry, is for another day, I think.
Yeah, I think
it's quite a long one.
Yeah, They were blocked.
They were blocked is the end of the story. And that basically meant it was IVF for us. So we got referred over to within a long wait of waiting for funding to be approved and various other things. This was all pre-COVID also, which is worth noting. COVID actually affected our round, didn't it? We had, it went into lockdown just as I was about to have my transfer. And it got cancelled and delayed, which was heartbreaking in itself. And then we ended up having the transfer. This is a very condensed, easy sounding version of this.
Yeah.
We ended up having the transfer, and it was our first round, and it was our first try, and it did work, and we felt unbelievably lucky and grateful and everything that it worked. 9 months later, we had a healthy Jax.
Yeah. Mad.
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, you think as time goes by, you realise how lucky you were, even more. Like, obviously we felt incredibly lucky to start with, but you hear other people's stories, or we knew at the time, like, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that it would work.
Yeah, the chances are low, really low, and I think you expect, because you're backing somebody essentially, like there's a clinic behind you, there's people, there's doctors, there's most of the time after one round there's money behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, I'm paying for it, so it's going to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to these appointments, so it's going to work.
Yeah. I always said to you, didn't I? I used to say, like, for anyone that is doubting, if you're in treatment now, if you are doubting that it's not going to work, I always used to think, well, don't turn up to the appointment. Like, that sounds brutal, but like, you're turning.
If you're going in with doubt,
just like, you're going to the appointments, aren't you? You
think it's gonna. There's some part of you.
Yeah. If there was zero part of you that thought it was going to work, you wouldn't inject yourself. You wouldn't even start injecting yourself. You wouldn't go to the appointments. You wouldn't have all the scans. You wouldn't put yourself through that. So there is a small part of you that believes it's going to work. And I just sort of lent into that as much as I possibly could. But yeah, anyway, that's probably another story for another day, really, with how we dealt with everything.
It's hard because we've got a lot to say on that subject, and IVF.
We're just trying to,
and our round is a really big part of our life. So I think
it's the reason why we're here now doing this.
Definitely, without all of that, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing now, and we wouldn't have the motivation to help other people that have been where we are. So I briefly touched on the NHS, and I think private as well, but I think their goalposts are slightly wider. You have to be at a certain BMI.
Yep.
We hate BMI.
We do. Well, no, I think again, this is probably just an episode in itself, but I think, like, broad spectrum population wise, it's a handy tool to have. It's just one of those. For some things, we can still hate it. You can still hate it. It's just on a population level, when you are a government and you're trying to just blanket give advice, which unfortunately that's kind of what you have to do as a government, I guess. You can't, like, go into, like, ultra specific information. BMI does have its flaws, 100%. And again, I think we can go into that. But it also does have a place overall. And actually, as much as it was a bit of a bitch trying to, like, you've almost got your self-worth attached to a number. It's like, you must be under this number. And it's always like the wording around it, isn't it? Like, you're overweight, you're obese.
Yeah. You're in sections and colours. It's just such a
even like there's like outlines of people dependent on those. So I think those can be quite triggering. And it's based on your height. Like, I'm 5'5", so I have to be X weight. Yeah. It's like, how can everybody that's exactly the same height be the same weight? That's just not a thing. No, again, we're talking.
But that's good. That's for another day.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, you have to be under 30 BMI to be eligible. You have to be non-smoker. You have to have no other children. Those are, like, some of the criteria you have to meet. So we had no children, we're not smokers, but my BMI was at the time higher than 30. And the consultant, said, if you need IVF, this was prior to me actually knowing that I needed it. She was like, if you need IVF, you will not be eligible until your BMI is under 30. Our next appointment was, this was actually on my birthday. Do you remember?
Yep.
That appointment where she told us that.
Which is the 28th of November, because not everyone listening will know your birthday.
Which was the 28th of November. The next appointment was in the April.
Yes, it was the 10th. Or I want to know, it might have been like the 17th.
Was it?
I feel like, yeah.
Anyway, it was a few months later. So I didn't actually get started on my, get in the zone weight loss until the January.
So you essentially had just over 3 months.
Yeah, I'm sure it was about 3 months.
To lose.
I think it was 2.5 stone to start with. And I did it.
Well, first of all, you'd never done that before. In terms of that short period of time. Don't hold the mic.
You want to be involved, do you, mate?
FOMO.
BRB. So yeah, I'd always wanted to lose weight, but through various reasons I'd gained a lot of weight over, years, through injury, being sedentary, various things. Yeah. PCOS.
This is, again, another full podcast in itself.
Yeah, we just want to give you the overview today. And I mean, we're already probably, I don't even know how long in we are.
Too far. No, we're doing all right. We're doing
okay. Okay, so 2.5 stone in 3 months. Quite the challenge for me with PCOS.
Yeah, I think
that was extreme weight loss.
Yes.
In a short period of time.
Yes.
Would not recommend for most people. And I wouldn't recommend doing it the way I did it also. I was training about 9 times a week. I was hitting about 15,000 steps a day. I was not eating very much.
Yeah. Well, it was like a real test of that whole calories in, calories out sort of equation where you start to realise once you account for everything and you weigh everything, if you go about it that way, you were realising, oh my God, 1,800 calories, that's not a deficit. But I hear that is a deficit for a lot of women or a lot of people. Definitely. And then 1,500 calories, that's not a deficit.
Yeah.
What? I've got to go down to 1,200. And then after a while, that doesn't start working. And it's obviously understanding those things. Because you hear weight loss plateau. Oh, I've just plateaued. And back then, we didn't really understand what that meant. You just go, you just stopped losing weight. Now we understand the mechanisms behind it and why that is a case. And obviously, again, we can...
Stay tuned.
Yes, we can explain that if people want to know that. But yeah, it was here was where my interest in the nutrition side of things started to come in more. Obviously, I've always had a small interest in it. But yeah, that was the point where my sort of interest started. But anyway, you were doing, well, I remember you were going to the gym, you were doing a class there, then you were coming home, and this is all fasted, going for a 2-hour walk around the park and then getting home and not breaking your fast.
I was lucky because obviously I was self-employed. I'm still self-employed.
Yeah.
So my work wasn't registered.
Self-employed.
Self-unemployed right now. Maternity. But I wasn't regimented to office hours, and I think that's where so many people probably wouldn't be able to do the things that I did. It's not achievable for most people, and I totally am aware of that. Of having that luxury of being able to train stupid amount of times and, whatever. And I'm finding that now as a parent, you don't have that time. That time doesn't exist for you.
What is time?
What is 5 minutes alone? Yeah, it's just nothing. But yeah, the pressure that I felt to lose the weight because I was so desperate to have IVF or to be eligible for IVF, to be eligible for a chance of having a baby was crazy. It was more motivation than I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, it's you flipped a switch, didn't you?
Completely. And I've never been able to do that before. So I've tried to lose weight millions of times in my life. I've done all the diets. I've tried all the things. stay tuned for another episode.
Then sometimes we've said that we need to stop saying that now.
I know. Well, we've just done about 10 episodes worth of snippets there.
Yeah.
And nothing's ever done it for me. Nothing's ever worked. I've never had enough motivation to stick to it or whatever, but this one was huge. And I think motivation and the want to do it for anybody has got to be right, and it's got to be enough.
Yeah. And I think like you need support as well. Like
support.
You need support of the people or person that's closest to you to be there with you, to really like buy into the whole situation and understand it and try to understand. Because like I felt like before our infertility struggles, there was like a gap between us in terms of, well, that's your how can I put it, situation when it comes to weight loss or whatever. Not that I didn't care, it was just that was your individual thing to go through, I guess. And then I've got my own things, and then suddenly you get pulled together, united in something because you're both like trying to achieve something.
We were never living separate lives before that, though.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I meant like from a understanding point of view. Like as a guy, like I'm generalizing here, but generally I just didn't really think too much about how things affected you in terms of like biology.
No.
I never really like understood it or like needed to, I guess, because it was just like, I don't know, we just lived our lives, didn't we? And I felt like we were happy, and we ate this. We probably had the same meals throughout our whole relationship for a long time, and
well, we've been together for 16 years.
Yeah, we should probably say that as well.
Since we were at school.
But then I've like pretty much stayed the same. If you looked at my many before photos I've took, they all look the same. It's just before. There's no after. That's again another story, but. Yeah, like for you, obviously it affects you differently. But what I mean was that
it was not kind to me.
No, but then like I really started to like get an understanding on it when obviously we were going through this situation at the time where you were trying to lose the weight, and it made me sort of like, I don't know, like I was curious, I guess.
Yeah.
And because we were on this journey together, it was like a common goal. Like now it's hard to imagine me not supporting you in a weight loss goal like I do now. Back then, but I
don't think I ever involved you.
Maybe not. Yeah,
as
like
much.
Right now, I couldn't even imagine like not being completely supportive, like I like to think I am. But going through that made me, because we had a common goal. Like it was like your win was my win, and obviously now, like it feels bad even saying that I didn't feel like that before, because we were obviously husband and wife, at this point before we started. So yeah, it's one of those where
I didn't want to do it though before that.
No, that's true.
It's always like, oh yeah, I'll do it.
And I never felt like you needed to do it. Like from my point of view, I didn't think that way. It can be quite a sensitive subject, I guess. I think like throughout everything we've been through over the past sort of 3-4 years, it's made us like so comfortable with each other and like be able to talk about any subject possible.
Which is crazy, because I would have said we were 100% comfortable before and everything was great, but it's things like the communication skills, and I feel like as people, well, it's just what you were used to, and like it didn't feel like it needed tweaking. But when you're going through something as serious as like fertility problems, or even when it comes to just trying to conceive in itself, you need to be on the same page as your partner, really. And you need to be able to express how you're feeling, because if you start working against each other, it's just not going to happen. It's just not. You need to be on the same page. You need to be one unit together. And whether that means that one of you has, this weight loss target, maybe one of you needs to quit smoking, you can support each other in that, because I believe that the BMI rule goes for both couple, like part of the couple. Obviously, they probably just looked at you and goes, yeah, you're not overweight, so it's fine. Which is annoying in itself. But yeah, when you're the woman going through fertility problems, even if you are probably not, maybe you're not the one with the issue, quotation marks.
Yeah.
You're the one sat in the chair because they're talking to you. You're the one that's got to do the injections. You're the one that's got to grow the eggs. You're the one that's got to have the egg collection. You're the one that's got to have the egg put back in, the fertilized embryo back into you. So whether it's your problem or not, they're talking to you.
Yeah.
As the woman, and you're almost cast aside as the man, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit. I felt like that at the time, and I think like we went into it with that sort of mindset of like I knew that was a possibility, and then like at the time again, luckily being self-employed, I went to every scan that we
Pretty
had,
much,
bar
yeah.
one, I think.
And you did all my injections.
And I appreciate that. That was something that you were like, you almost said, I want you to do it, and it kind of. I took it out of my hands. I just, it was like, oh, I'm doing it then, aren't I? And then like that was a good thing for me because it was good to have that sort of involvement in something that can feel quite.
Well, you could go along to the whole thing, apart from jizzing in a cup. There's literally nothing else for you to do.
No, literally,
do you know what I mean?
You could literally just not turn up and turn up on the day.
So that's why and it's heavy on a female. It's heavy on the one with the uterus. It's heavy because if you are not communicating, that is a lot. That is a lot on you. And if your partner doesn't know where you stand, how you're feeling, how your hormones are changing, how mentally how you're feeling, because it's a lot on you mentally. Because then if it doesn't work, what are you going to do? If you're not on if you're on different pages, it just isn't going to work. And I just feel like for us, through our journey, we learned our communication got so much better because we learned that we needed to talk about these things. We learned that actually discussing everything to the bone is what we needed to do to make sure we were totally on the same page.
Yeah, I think that rule works whether you're, going through this as a heterosexual couple like me and you, or same-sex couples that are going through it. You think about if there's say like one woman who's having the going through IVF, and then the other woman like she's like kind of in my position, but even like to the point where you're kind of really removed from the situation. So how does that feel? We're speaking about our experience, but I guess any kind of relationship dynamic you have, the communication is key. Like it is the thing. And we spoke about this before.
Welcome to fertility therapy.
But it is like, I can only speak from my experience, I guess. And I suppose you can become a bit preachy, but I know that having conversations on a consistent basis like made me a better person. It made me more like connected to the situation.
It keeps you out of a dark hole as well.
Oh, massively. I mean, again, I can get into those as well. So yeah, I think it's important to talk. But yeah, I think like obviously
it's a good job we like talking then, isn't it?
I know, yeah. We're doing this. This is our only way to have a chat, isn't it? Really, because life's just so busy. But yeah, I think obviously then from that point of view, then we had the positive test, which we'd never seen before. Never ever seen before. Thought it was a fairy tale. Didn't understand how people could just have sex and get pregnant. Like it was just, it was annoying, to be honest with you. I just thought those people were walking around like didn't know how lucky they were. That was the thing.
Yeah.
And I think like it's you don't really want to go too far down that pathway of feeling because it can be a bit bitter. But I think I felt
it's easy to feel that way. Totally.
Yeah, I felt that way at the time, and
jealousy and bitterness and
all the good emotions,
all the feelings towards people that have children or that have get pregnant naturally. When you're going through fertility treatment, they're real feelings.
Yeah, you hear, someone not even trying.
People are irritating,
but people don't know. People are blissfully ignorant.
But like we said at the beginning, before we started IVF, we didn't know anybody that had IVF.
No.
So would you, if you didn't know anyone that hadn't had IVF and it wasn't in your world, would you unknowingly have said things like that, perhaps.
Oh, definitely.
And probably not in our life because we were quite young when we started trying, really. But,
I mean, I always used to say, didn't I, like when we were like first together, like, or what if we struggle?
Yeah, which is wild. I don't know why you said that.
Friends.
Because of Friends.
Because of Friends.
The TV show.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. Anyway, yeah, so, we had the positive test that we thought was not possible, pretty mental. And then, yeah, you're kind of like dealing with a lot, I think.
Disbelief.
Yeah.
And shock.
Yeah. But excitement as well. Because
happiness.
You get such a build-up of emotions that because I think like when you're trying to conceive, and it's sort of elongated, and if you are lucky for it to work eventually, you've got those banked months, years, decades even of like feelings of like what will it be like, and it's almost that anticipation, that build up, and then it's there, and then you've got all these like, oh, we're going to tell this person, and we were the kind of people that told people early.
Straight away,
we didn't. And again, we can talk about the 12-week rule and all that. But I've kind of been led by you, and I totally agree with this sort of line of thinking where you're going to want people to support you. If something, God forbid something does go wrong, that support is there. I think people don't like to say anything out of the whole thing of feeling stupid if you go, oh, I'm pregnant. Look at me, like amazing. No, not look at me, but I'm pregnant. We're pregnant, and then you have to go through the embarrassment of saying, it failed. And I think people struggle because no one's going to think like I don't know, make you feel embarrassed. It's a horrible thing to go through. And you need that support. Obviously, everyone's got personal choice. You can keep that quiet, and
totally.
you can. I just think that for us personally, sharing that news as early as possible was something that we wanted to do, and I think the fact that you were being so honest online, that you needed to you couldn't suddenly flip a switch and be like, oh, look, Mrs. Secretive,
Yeah. I think I waited maybe a week to tell online.
Yeah. You were probably 8 weeks gone, maybe.
Probably
maybe
not even. Yeah. Not even. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. But yeah, I wanted to share the news straight away because, like you said, we'd been sharing online, and we were really excited, and everybody knew we were going through IVF. We didn't keep it a secret or anything, so it was only a matter of time whether it would have been a yes or a no. It wouldn't have been like we'll just keep it quiet altogether.
Yeah.
Not that kind of person.
No.
So yeah, that was a time. It's crazy because Jaxie's coming up to, he'll be 3 at the end of March now. So that was 3.5 years ago that all happened.
Wild.
In the middle of COVID. Just feel very grateful and lucky that we got to that point with him, and it was incredible.
It feels like this is probably the first time I've personally spoke about it in depth for nearly 3.5 years, which is crazy. But I think that,
do you know what I was thinking about?
What?
We should do a react video to our IVF
videos.
journey.
Oh yeah, I'd love to watch those back.
If you've not already, on the Good Luck Nic YouTube channel, all of our IVF vlogs are all on there. So if you feel like you want to go across and check those out, we can leave the details in the show notes. But yeah, all our details are on there. But I was thinking we could watch our IVF journey video back because I've naturally not watched it since I put it out there, and that's been 3.5 years.
Mad.
And we could just see what we went through, and I think that would be really interesting for us.
Yeah, I think just talking about this kind of brings up a lot of feelings. But what I was going to say was that talking about this kind of feels totally separate to who Jax is now. Our little boy, he's that product of everything we went through.
Yeah,
and
he has no idea.
No, and I feel like
he will one day.
We've had such a totally separate life. Life's changed so much with him. And
I'm looking around at my living room that's full of toys. Got Grinch stickers on my window. Got family pictures everywhere. We've got everything we ever dreamed of, and it's actually crazy. Like, the gratefulness I feel sat here is wild. And you have to take stock sometimes when you're having a stressful moment, or, you know, you're tired or whatever. I do often think back and think, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And we've got it all now.
Yeah, I think anything good, like, people, I don't know, from the outside, I think it's very easy to like look at someone's life, whether they've achieved something financially or, you know, family, whatever, and you think that, oh, that must be nice.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, most things in life that are great, like what we have now with our boys, you know, you have to work for it. Then there's not easy days, and obviously we really had to work for it with Jax as well. And it does make you appreciate everything, and it makes you, I don't know, talking about it now, I think, is important because it keeps it present in mind, and I don't ever want to forget that we had to go through IVF. Like, it's not something that I'm ever gonna.
It changed us as people.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not gonna shy away from it, and it's a really important part of our life. And I think it's almost like defined our life in a way. And I don't want to be one of those people that, like, you know, it consumes you. It becomes who you are. That's not really what I mean by that. It's more that, like, it's like I don't know.
You're just like, totally aware of it, I think.
Yeah, I feel like I got direction.
Yeah.
You know, with what I want to do, and I think this has helped me get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been.
Well, it's the butterfly effect, isn't it, of everything that we went through and all the tests we did and literally everything. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing now.
No. I think, like, yeah, it's you can't look forward like 2-3 years and think how that's going to go either. It's difficult to, like, you want to try and plan out your future and think I can plot this. But what you got to do is go back 3 years and go, well, how the hell did I get here?
Yeah.
That's just crazy. So
delayed gratification.
Yeah, day by day.
Is something that, like, is so important that more people should practice.
I should practice it more. I know it's important. I know how important it is.
Because it's about putting the work in now for things you're going to get down the line.
Yeah. And that comes with everything. I mean, I've been lately thinking about it with parenting quite a bit. Like, how you can give in for the easy life now in the
short
moment,
term,
you know, whether that be giving them XYZ cake, you know,
the cake.
You know, if he's asking for it, and you know it's going to cause a bit of an issue in the moment, it's very easy
if you say no and he kicks off.
You're correcting yourself, and you see it happen in real life, because, like, you might go, I'll give him that, I don't know, chocolate or whatever.
It's even things like bananas.
Yeah, now it's got to bananas. Yeah, I mean, bananas are great though, aren't they? But, like,
not if you eat 75 of them.
But, like, if you give him that, and then you realise, you then start to see a pattern of behaviour. He then, and we're talking about he who shall not be named, Jax. He then wants them more and more, and then it's all like, you know, he gets in the car after nursery. Where's my banana?
Yeah.
You know, you do all these things, and
kids love routine.
Yeah, definitely. But you kind of make a rod for your own back when it comes to, you know, we're talking about obviously delayed gratification, and I'm talking about, like, if you have to deal with a difficult situation in the now, with no guarantees it's going to get better in the future.
Yeah.
But really, you've probably got loads of experiences in your life where you go, okay, had I not done X, Y, Z, I probably wouldn't end up in this situation. Yeah. So
the biggest thing with us, with that, has been around Jax's sleep.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for another episode on that, because it has been a roller coaster. Mostly downhill.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a roller coaster, like, when you say roller coaster of emotions, say, like, what do they mean? Like, I've always just used that terminology.
It's ups and downs, isn't it?
Okay, it's ups and downs, and I suppose, yeah, okay, so you're saying, like, the down is just down, But then, what about a loop-de-loop?
A loop-de-loop. That
Well,
feels like most of our nights. Just keeping stuck on a loop-de-loop.
Yeah. I feel a bit silly now I've asked that question because that is definitely what it is. Anyway.
We've never took Jax to a theme park.
You know what? How
do you think he'd be scared?
I think he might be overwhelmed, maybe. I think it's like... But then the kid just loves an adventure, doesn't he?
He's such a daredevil.
So I think he'd love it. I do. I just think that our life, there's reasons as to why we've not took him to a theme park yet, probably.
We've been busy the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Did you like that segue?
I love the segues. It's smart. Go on. I've interrupted your segue, so carry on.
Rude. Been busy the last 12 months. If you're watching this on video, got baby on my lap. This is Remy. He's 3 months old. He was unexpected. So I'm actually the person that everybody in the infertility community hates. Not me personally, maybe, but people like me who go through IVF once, or go through IVF, whatever, and then end up getting pregnant naturally. For someone that's an advocate of the community, it's not ideal.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look for me.
It's not on brand.
But it was a miracle, and it's amazing, and we're so unbelievably lucky and grateful. We are those people that go, oh, you have IVF and then you get pregnant naturally. You hear about it. Oh, I know someone that happened to. Please don't say that to people, first of all. We don't want to be the people that you go, yeah, well, good luck, Nick and Mark does nutrition. They had a baby through IVF and then they got pregnant naturally. So if they can do it, you can do it. Please don't say that to people.
It's almost like when you see those shitty adverts for the lottery, the national lottery, and they put like, I found the ticket, and it's like, yeah, but that doesn't happen. Like, it's not, you can't, it does happen, but it doesn't happen very often.
And don't pin all your hopes on that, and don't tell people. You could go, yeah, but you could win the lottery.
Yeah, we're the exception, not the rule.
Anyway, we're not going to go into that because, you've been told. So yeah, we got pregnant naturally. Prior to that, I had gone through my postpartum journey. I'd lost 3 stone that I'd gained through pregnancy and the following 9 months after having Jax. I was at the fittest I'd ever been. I'd just turned 30. We'd started talking about how we were going to go back in for IVF, and I'd started the process of talking to the doctor, and I'd actually recently had my fallopian tubes rechecked via a HSG test again. Miraculously, this is on YouTube, miraculously found out that they were unblocked, which they said pretty much never happens.
Nope.
Wild. So that was the reason we had IVF in the first place. So then I was on a waiting list to see the consultant again to see if we could get some ovulation drugs, because to my knowledge at that point I did not ovulate due to my PCOS, my irregular cycles, my unable to pick up any ovulation using ovulation strips, using temping, and I had an OvuSense as well, which is a really good little gadget, so I definitely recommend checking that out if you've got PCOS. Could never pick it up. We were also at that time doing our house up. I was here every day. We were doing a long journey here back every day. Pretty tired, and I started to just feel so rough, and I just put it down to burnout. And I was like, why don't I want tea and coffee? Why am I so exhausted? Why can I not lift my head up off the pillow? And actually, I did a pregnancy test in the week. This is wild. And I don't know whether this is anyway. I'm not sure whether I've said this before. But I did a pregnancy test and it came up negative. If anybody's ever done a pregnancy test before, you know that the control line comes up first. I saw that, assumed one line, chucked it in the bin and was like, well, I'm just burnt out, obviously. I then 2 days later, I was like, I still feel so ill. What is going on? I actually pulled the pregnancy test back out of the bin. I'd not done the bin. It'd only been 2 days. Leave me alone. And I looked at the test and there was 2 lines there and I was like, what on earth is this? I came downstairs, didn't I, and showed you. And I was like, what does this mean? Because you aren't supposed to look at a pregnancy test after 10 minutes, apparently, according to box instructions. Is it an evaporation line? It's been 2 days. It's not been 10 minutes. I don't understand. Is it real? Is it not real? I don't know. And then lo and behold, our really good sleeper Jax woke up, and you had to go and sleep with him and lie with him, and we couldn't then discuss it all night.
I was left with my own thoughts.
You were on your own. I was on my own. I was Googling. You were Googling. 6 a.m. the next day, you were off out to get a clear blue digital, no faffing around with the lines, jobby. And it came up blaring pregnant 3+ weeks. And I was like, wow. What? And I still think about it now. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
what has happened?
I don't know. I don't know how it happens.
And it's just crazy. We, prior to this, when I was getting my tubes checked, my consultant had sent me for an MRI scan due to the shape of my uterus, and she found that I had got, it was never quite clear whether it was a septate or a bicorn uterus, which basically means there's a split in my uterus. And she was saying if an embryo implanted on the septum, on the split, on the half bit, that isn't actually like uterine wall, that I could be at risk of miscarriage. So we went for an early private scan straight away after finding the test result. We got the test result on the Saturday, managed to get a scan for the Monday. And just to check that the embryo was implanted in the right place and that everything was okay, and to see if there was a heartbeat and stuff. And there was. And it was just like absolutely nuts. And that's when we told my mum and dad, and we told your mum and dad. And yeah, it absolutely crazy. And from then it was just a whirlwind, because being pregnant with a toddler is totally different than the first time around. Being pregnant in the real world, not COVID land, weird. And then just also being pregnant naturally following IVF is wild in itself. And that's a whole episode in itself also, because the mental side of that is crazy.
Yeah, it's actually mad what we went through last. Well, I said to you yesterday, the day before, it's not even been a year since we found out that Nic was pregnant. So she's found out she was pregnant, had 9 months of, pregnancy, given birth. He's 3 months, and it still hasn't been a year. So it's like, how on earth are we meant to have?
Is that the right maths?
Well,
more or less.
Do you know what I mean?
It's the right thing anyway. It hasn't been a year.
No, it hasn't been a year. I know I've just added up to 12 months, but like, you know what I'm saying? You've had a full pregnancy, but obviously you don't.
Yeah. Well, it's coming up to a year. It was mid-Feb, wasn't it, when we found out?
Yeah. Well, that's mid to end of Feb.
Yeah.
It's the start of January. He's 3 months old.
I know.
Like, we've still got another 7 weeks until it's been a year. I mean, all that has happened. Like, it's crazy. It's just crazy what happened in a year. It is mad. We're forever grateful. But yeah, it's that sort of.
So we're now the proud parents of 2 boys. 2
boys. That is, if you'd have played this clip to us 4 years ago, you'd have been like, what the, how?
Totally.
How? Obviously, it's incredible.
In the midst of going through that first weight loss for IVF, if you would have said, in 4 years' time, 4 years? When did you lose that weight? 2018?
Oh, no, because you broke your leg in 2018.
Oh, good a minute. 2019.
So, yeah, it's coming up to 5 years.
Okay, so 5 years ago.
5 years ago, pretty much now since you decided to kick into gear.
Yeah, that is crazy.
5 years. Yeah, that's mad. That is mad.
This has been my life for 5 years of like,
Well, beyond that. Oh, you mean like on it? But well, it
yeah,
was beyond that, wasn't it? Because like you got to think that.
6 years ago we got married, and that's when we started trying.
Yeah, yeah.
And then obviously the tests came the
It's
following
been
year.
about 5 years, hasn't it? Like you say, yeah. It's just crazy. It is crazy. So yeah, that's kind of like led us to where we are now, where we definitely want to like help people.
Let me
And
help you, damn it.
we've got experience of going through this in particular, but obviously we've also got experience of being parents.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always said that, not always, but for a long time, I've said you should be a PT because of the kind of person you are, how much you love it, and how
Yeah.
much it's become a part of your life, how like you've got so much proof behind you of like how, you've got a really crap cards,
Yeah.
you've got really crap cards to play with. And when it comes to,
Charming. It's true though. I think that like you got to realise my PCOS goes against me.
Yeah,
The fact that I'm a parent help goes against me.
I was mostly talking about your BMR.
Yeah, BMR is your basal metabolic rate, which is basically how much calories you burn on a daily or at
Just
rest.
at rest.
Just at rest. So how many calories you burn at rest, if you were just to sit all day. Yeah, just being Netflixing all day. How many calories do you burn? Having PCOS, that is up to 50% less than the regular person, which is crazy, which is why my calories that I consume when I am on a diet / in a deficit has to be so low and sounds so dramatic. And it's half the reason why I haven't always talked about the numbers that I do eat and my macro split and things like that, because I don't feel that it would benefit the larger population.
No, I think it's quite extreme, but I think that
It sounds extreme, but it's not for me.
no, it's not. It's reality.
Yeah.
But and it took a lot of understanding and time to get to that point where you could like understand why it was that way.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where again we can help people.
Yeah, because it's all individual, isn't it? And
Yeah.
like if you wanted to drop into a deficit, it would be totally different than the way my day would have to be structured in a deficit compared to, again, the next person. So we want to just be sure, we want to be able to help people, and we feel like because of the circumstances we've been through, we can do that in such a sympathetic manner.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can be honest at the times where we need to be, where it's beneficial.
Yeah.
But I think that like my goal really is to. I mean, a lot of the things that get spoken about in my course is first do no harm. Like that's a sort of a mantra, and that's like how I want to treat people. Really, we're talking about low calories here, and we might mention it often, but the last thing we want to do is give people, disordered eating, and have like phobias of food. So yeah, I think we're gonna do our best to give people like the most positive relationship with food, whilst also understanding, giving them the knowledge. Like, we want to give people the knowledge. Like, I felt lost.
Yeah.
I hated not knowing, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Knowledge is power, and that was something that I preached throughout all these journeys that I've been on.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to advocate for yourself, and you need to have that knowledge and that information. We had to find it on our own because there was nobody out there that was doing what we are going to be doing. There was nobody out there that coached people who needed to specifically lose weight for IVF, that had PCOS, that was a parent, that had been through it. There's people out there that are doing these roles, but they've never lived a life. These people are pitching themselves as to help these people, but I think having been through it is something, puts you in a different category. You can totally sympathize with what people are going through. You can totally understand if someone wanted to then confide in me about their round or about whatever, either of us, about how they were feeling or how their partner was reacting to things, you understand because we've sat and talked through all of our situation. Obviously, our treatment worked and various other things, but we did get to almost transfer like within days and have the round cancelled. That to me, was almost like having a failed round because I'd had all the hormones pumped into me and it got taken away from me at the very last second.
I think it's easy in hindsight to look at that and go, hang on, a few minutes later you had your transfer, but at the time, like the world was upside down. We didn't know.
Yeah, it was the worst thing that happened
whether
us.
fertility treatment was ever going to resume at where we were having it. So I think it was a difficult challenge to go through. One we can talk about another podcast, but I think that's all that has led us to where we are now. And I think that this also, doing this is probably going to be something that's quite cathartic for both of us, to talk through all the things we go through. But also, like, we want to take suggestions on topics. If people want to, get in touch with things they want to hear from us.
Probably the best way to do that is direct message us on Instagram at Fitility UK.
How are you spelling that?
Oh, don't ask me to spell things when it isn't written down in front of me.
F-I-T.
F-I-T.
I-L.
I-L.
I-T-Y.
I-T-Y.
UK.
UK.
I doubted myself there, and I actually don't even know if I spelled that right, but I think that's right. It's a bit of a, well, go on.
Fitility. Did you do ER?
No, because...
Is it?
No, I think this is the problem we had last time. Because you'd gone, I found the handle, and you had the handle for a year, and then I've gone, now I could be wrong. I feel like I may have said that wrong, but I don't think...
It's a litty.
Yes. So why have you gone erty?
No, I'm just checking.
Yeah, fertility, not fertility.
Oh.
We're having an admin conversation on the podcast here, because I'm convinced that we got it right.
Fitility.
Fitility.
Because it's litty.
Fit.
Fit.
Litty.
Litty.
You just said Fitility.
I know.
Fitility.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like we probably should have had this conversation before we started. But it's a play on words.
It's a play on words.
Fertility. Fertility. Fitility.
Yes.
Fit. There's some
Get
ASMR
fit
for you.
with Nic and Mark.
Is that going to be the...
That's the jingle.
That's the jingle. I mean, I ain't got time to make a jingle, so that's probably going to be the jingle.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has been good. This has been good to do.
I hope you haven't felt like we've rambled. We love a tangent. And we love to chat.
We do. It's funny because, like, we've said we've wanted to do this for ages, and we've bought zero equipment to do this in terms of, like, deciding the last couple of weeks that we're going to do it. We've bought zero equipment because we had already bought it. I've had this sort of equipment for...
It's relevant.
Since lockdown. No, I'm just saying that, it's one of those things where we've wanted to do it for so long, and we've just never tried to do it. Like, this is the closest we've ever got, and I'm just glad that we've actually done it.
Yeah.
Just
got to put it out there now.
Yeah. See what people think.
Let us know.
Yes, please do. We take well to criticism and hate.
Be kind to us. We're living on minimal sleep. Stay tuned because we've got lots and lots to talk about, lots of various subjects, and we're hopefully going to keep digging on, ploughing on, going on, keeping on with our courses.
Keep moving.
Getting them done. Mine is like self-paced, which is probably worse than yours, which is weekly. Yours has an actual end date and such, whereas mine's self-paced, which is probably a good thing now. I've got a baby here, but the plan was to have it done before he was born. You okay, hun? Yeah. So I didn't get it done before he was born, so I've got to get it done now. But stay tuned because we're very much looking forward to this journey with you all. It's going to be a fun one.
It is. I mean, I don't know how you sign out of these things.
Thank you for joining us on our first episode of the podcast. We'll see you on the next one.
Familiar. Bye-bye.